The quadratic formula. Well, where does it come from? If we've got a general quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b and c are numbers, how are we going to do it? In any quadratic equation, to solve it, we can complete the square. So first of all, let's take out a factor of a from the first two terms. It leaves a, and then square brackets x squared plus b over a times x, close the square brackets, plus c equals 0. Now complete the square on that expression inside the square bracket. So we've got x plus b over 2a all squared, take away b squared over 4a squared. Now times all that by a and add in c. So if we now expand those square brackets, we've got a, lots of x plus b over 2a squared, minus b squared over 4a plus c equals 0. And then we can rearrange and get the b squared minus over 4a plus c onto the other side of the equation. And then write it as a single fraction on the right hand side. So we've got b squared minus 4ac all over 4a. Now if we were to solve this equation now, the next thing we'll probably do is we'll put x on its own. Let's get rid of the a on the left side. Let's divide both sides by a. So that makes the right hand side's denominator 4a squared. The next step when solving equations would be to square root both sides. That denominator, we square root 4a squared, you get 2a. But on the top we can't simplify that, but when you square root a number, you get a positive answer and a negative answer. For example, the square root of 16 is 4 or minus 4. So we're going to write x plus b over 2a is plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now when we subtract the b over 2a from both sides, there's a common denominator of 2a. So I've got these plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac and take away b all over 2a. But to keep it neat and keep that minus b away from the square root, we put that first on the numerator. So when we subtract b over 2a, we write minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now that is the quadratic formula, and you can use this to solve any quadratic equation or determine how many roots the equation will have depending on the value of b squared minus 4ac. So our first example, we've got solve 2x squared plus 11x plus 7 equals 0. With any of these equations, once it's in this form, is to write what a, b and c are. So a is 2, b is 11, c is 7. Write down that quadratic formula. The more times you write down, the easier it is to remember it. And you've always got it in front of you, so when you're substituting, you don't make any mistakes. So there we are, write it down and substitute in the numbers. So you've got minus 11 plus the minus square root of 11 squared minus 4 times 2 times 7 all over 4. Simplify the numbers inside the square root. So we've got 121, take away 56, and then work that out. You've got x is minus 11 plus minus square root of 65 all over 4. Now that is the two solutions in exact form. That is perfectly acceptable. But if you want it as 3 decimal places, then you've got to do it separately in your calculator. Do minus 11 plus root of 65 over 4, then minus 11 take away root 65 over 4, and that gives you minus 0.734 and minus 4.766 to 3 decimal places. Okay, your turn now. Have a look at the left-hand side and do that to solve this equation. Have a pause the video, have a go at it, and come back and check your answers. Okay, should write down what a, b and c are, then write down the formula. Substitute it in, like so. Simplify the numbers underneath the square root. 100 take away 24, that is 76, so its x is minus 10 plus minus root 76 over 6, which gives you negative 0.214 or negative 3.120. Okay, these examples, we now got some negative numbers, and we've got solve 3x squared minus 6x minus 5 equals 0. So a is 3, b is minus 6, c is minus 5. Write down formula. Now when we do this, x is 6 plus the square of minus 6 all squared minus 4 times 8 times minus 5. So we evaluate each of those terms inside the square root separately. Minus 6 all squared is 36, take away. Now 4 times 3 minus 1 is minus 60, so it's 36, take away minus 60. That's going to simplify to root 96. So 6 plus minus square root of 96 all over 6. Bang that in your calculator, and there are your two solutions. Over to you now. Have a look at the left hand side and solve 5x squared minus x minus 8 equals 0. Pause this video, have a little go and come back and see how you've done. So a is 5, b is minus 1, c is minus 8. Write down that quadratic formula, substitute in the values. Minus 1 all squared is 1. 4 times 5 times minus 8 is minus 160, so it's 1 minus minus 160. So we've got 1 plus or minus root 161 all over 10. And then evaluate that in your calculator. 1.369 and minus 1.169.